Tuesday, March 26, 2019 at 7:30. I'm going to call the regular meeting to order. If everybody can rise and the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and Corvicia, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moraz?
Here.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Marquez? Here. Trustee Carabona?
Here.
Trustee Sweeney? Here. Clerk Drama's not here. Assessor Moran Fry? Here. Highway Commissioner Kazmierczak?
Here.
Okay, so first order of business, can I have a motion for approval of the minutes of the February 26th, 2019 Bill Pay Review?
Motion to approve February 26th bill pay review.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Felicia, can you call the vote?
Supervisor Moraz?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Marquez?
Yes.
Trustee Carabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney? Yes.
Okay. Now I'm seeking a motion for approval of the minutes of the February 26, 2019 regular board.
Motion for approval of the minutes for the February 26, 2019 board meeting.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney.
I'm going to pass down amendments. Make a motion to amend. On page 3. From the point where it starts to say there were numerous questions through the period after where it says see video at 102.54. Substitute
You're
for that, that's stricken. And then the substitution is there were policy questions with substituting edits, see tape. Strike after trustees second, motion carried. There was nothing that was carried at that point. On page 4, at the bottom of the page, strike trustee Sweeney and Carabona pointed out that this project was included in the Maine Township budget and replace it with Supervisor Moraz advised that seamless docks was in the budget. Page 6, after paragraph 5, trustee Jones, McKenzie, Carabona, and Sweeney expressed their opinions on the postponement of the tax abatement ordinance. I want to add trustee Carabona and trustee Sweeney expressed readiness to vote on the tax abatement because of the excessive reserve.
Second.
There were numerous questions.
Where
Trustee
are
Jones'
saying
question.
the words?
Why would I change? No, I don't want to change that.
I'm not even sure where we are. I'm on page 3. Okay. All right. I'm I'm sorry, Susan, what's the point?
There's some
Is it, I'm sorry,
duplication.
is it inaccurate to say there were numerous questions? Not all of them were policy questions.
There were policy questions and substituted edits. Trustee Jones had questions, I had questions, I
Right.
had comments.
So why
And so
would we
did,
take
so did all
out?
of us, I think all of us had said it. So rather than specifically just highlight one, which was related to the sexual harassment, I suggest that we comment that there were several discussions. So putting it in C tape as we talk about is a summary. One sentence was sufficient to put there were policy questions and substituted edits. I also see that.
But that's what
comment
I
about
was talking about.
Supervisor Morass, that the page 55, sexual harassment is for employees only. You made a motion twice. So you said motion to approve the personnel policy with proposed amendment, page 55, and then it's down below as well. So that's why that section can be replaced with one sentence, see tape, and then add, or then substitute with the policy questions and substituting it at see tape.
Okay, so I don't know why we would say see policy questions instead of just proposed policies or numerous questions. I don't have any problem getting rid of the 2 times of a motion. I mean, I'm sure I didn't make the same motion twice.
You did.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh. Why did I do that?
We just repeated yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what happened. I repeated myself. So it isn't inaccurate. See, Susan, the point of this is not an exercise in, like, which is literal, which isn't.
The vote that was taken was a motion to approve the personnel policy with the proposed amendment, page 55. It was seconded by trustee Jones, and then there were 2 amendments to that. So that's the point of getting what actually happened.
But that is what happened. I apparently did make it twice. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do, I'm just saying I apparently did do that.
Well, I think the way you said it was, I'd like to make a motion, but it wasn't a motion that was seconded. Oftentimes we talk about making a motion or moving without it being seconded. So it was seconded and it's acknowledged, as it was stated, that it was motion to approve the personnel policy manual with proposed amendment on page 55.
That's what it says.
Right. And I want,
There were actually policy questions and substituting edits proposed, which is correct, some tape, rather than focusing on one specific edit.
That
That's what
was
it
my
There-
edit,
there-
though.
I know, but overall, that whole section.
But I'm not-
We had
no.
a back and forth. There were policy questions and substituting edits, see tape. That's the correct way.
So
rather
we're
than
not
single out.
That would be my vote.
The whole manual was policy edits. That was
Right.
the purpose of the workshop.
right, so there were policy
that's why you
questions and
have the video.
substituting edits, see video, rather than singling out one particular policy.
So
I had
why
brought
are
a
you
policy.
saying trustee Sweeney and Carbona pointed out that that's the same thing, isn't it? That's pointing out a specific thing, because it's you and Dave instead of Laura or myself, then
Where's
that's
that
okay.
at? Where's that at?
Page 4 per
I
minute.
know, are we done with page 3 yet?
No, I mean, I disagree with
Okay.
everything on page 3 because these were set. This was set. I don't know what's the problem.
Because we're singling out one of many policies. Why that was, I don't know.
One specific proposed edit out of all that we were discussing, I don't know why that would be. So it'd be, there were policy questions and substituting edits, see tape, there's more than one.
He explained all the revisions and data is right above it.
So,
What's wrong with
Right, that's in there.
questions?
I'm sorry, Claire?
Yeah, right.
No.
Well,
what
they
did
could
you
say there were-
Hang on, let,
I don't have a
What's
problem
wrong
with
with
that.
just saying there were numerous questions? I don't
right,
understand.
that's
I
my,
don't have a problem with there were
Edits.
numerous questions or numerous edits or numerous policy questions and substituting edits.
But
but that's not what her question is.
I don't understand why we need to add the substituting edits, because we didn't even, we didn't all provide substituting
Right.
edits or proposed revisions.
Correct.
And I think the fact that you had them was nice, but it's not what really was part of the discussion. we postponed the discussion.
Well, there were a few comments and a few policies that we actually talked about.
I know, but we're not naming
With
them.
edits, and we're not
So-
naming it, but here, one is mentioned.
Which one?
In that same sentence, there were numerous questions, and trustee Jones' question.
But
No,
trustee
no,
Jones
no,
did question.
I think.
I question things too.
Where? Where's trustee?
No,
Jones?
it's in the actual transcript,
Oh.
the actual transcript.
It
So
says there were
what I
numerous
think,
questions and trustee Jones questioned the sexual harassment policy in the manual, which is what I did.
but that was one
Then
of
let's just
several.
take that out.
Take it out.
I mean,
Just say
you can't
there
just
were-
put one in and not all of them.
That's my point.
Consistent.
But
Either
you're
you're
saying-
gonna put all of them that were
That's my
discussed, which
point.
is
But-
really not what we said we were gonna do.
Right.
But
Or
you're,
we're just gonna summarize by saying
Exactly.
there were questions.
but you're
That's
saying,
why one sentence
but
covers
you're
it all.
saying, but you're saying there were policy questions to take, is that what you
No, she's not saying
There were numerous
policy.
questions.
That's fine.
Take out the specific one that's singled out.
Just say there were numerous questions.
Period. Substituting edits or
Period.
not?
Period.
No, forget edits. Just
Okay, fine.
There were numerous questions.
Period,
Okay,
see,
period.
tape.
C,
In the manual.
I suggest we say see video instead of see tape, because it's not
It
really
says
tape.
see video.
It says see video.
But,
okay, so
but,
we're gonna strike that provision and we're gonna substitute with there were policy questions.
No,
numerous
there were
questions.
numerous
There were
questions.
numerous questions, see
Period.
video. Right, numerous questions, period, see video.
Well, discussion, see video.
Discussion. See
Yeah, I
video.
don't know why one thing that was brought up was again.
Now,
And then-
I am keeping in because I did actually bring up the sexual harassment as when I approved it with that amendment. That's my motion. That's the motion I made. I
But
mean,
that's pretty.
that's staying in here,
that-
the motion to approve personnel policy with proposed amendment on page 55. That's going to stay in here, because that's
Yeah.
after the 102.
all right.
So the only issue is see video, we don't need to put a time, because that 102 is actually not accurate, it was 56, so I would rather just say see
Just,
video.
there
because
were,
it's a whole.
there were numerous questions, period, see video, period.
What are you talking about? You just took out an entire
They're
paragraph.
talking
Right.
about two different things.
I know.
They're not, we already did the one you're talking about.
We did the one you're talking about on page 3.
We moved
That's
on
done.
to the other one.
You
Which
moved
is
down to
the
motion
double
carried, the
motion.
strike motion carried? Okay, so
What are you
mid-page,
talking, wait, no, motion carried. I don't know what you're
Oh,
talking
you
about.
want all of this stricken?
Yeah.
from, there were numerous questions to the period.
Oh, you can't. That's like, how?
No,
So you want to make it
Because-
not accurate?
It is accurate. We still have your motion in there.
But the motion comes before,
Right.
right before.
Motion to approve personnel policy manual and proposed amendment on page 55. It's the same.
And she made it twice. But she made it twice, so.
Whether I did that correctly or
So, but it's- there's no
incorrectly,
need to-
I did it.
Well, so,
Maybe someone started talking.
so are you saying the video at 1.02.54 is wrong? It's not,
Yeah,
it's
because the
not.
video at that point was, when it started, was 5640.
And Susan, I'm sorry, when you're saying that nothing was carried, motion carried, when you seconded it, there's nothing, it was interrupted.
I was
You see,
interrupted.
It just
Yeah.
say no, no, and then there is another motion again, and this one was carried.
Right, that's fine. So can you say, you know,
Yeah, but I don't know, some,
it carried implies that it was,
carried implies to the
that
one
it was
that
complete.
trustee Mackenzie made and trustee Carabota
And
seconded
then-
not you. If you see this.
The second motion carried on a roll call vote as follows, is not what I'm questioning.
Which one? What it says? When you, the one
After
that
after it
is,
says trustee Sweeney seconded the motion, trustee Carabot's motion to table approving the personnel policy at this time. I seconded it. After
Yes.
that, it says motion carried on a roll call
right, but
vote
because
as follows.
this is what we always say, is motion carried, but it starts with no, no. There is no motion carried. It says, we always say that. You see it,
But if it's
it's-
not complete, does
it's
it
not
really carry a
completed.
motion?
it's not carried because it doesn't have an end.
Right.
We always say on the end motion carried. This doesn't mean anything. It just, it stopped.
Well, that's why I was suggesting striking it,
Yeah, you
because
can't say a
How do you
motion
say
was
it
carried
carries if
because
you
it
never
wasn't
took a
carried,
vote?
right.
But that doesn't mean you just strike it.
So maybe it's just a different.
So just say it differently from now on,
It was
because
not
all of them
carried.
actually,
Yeah,
right?
this one too.
Technically, it should
I
not
understand.
pass.
Motion not passed,
Or
motion
motion
not passed.
amended, right? Was it amended?
Yes,
Motion,
it was amended, again. Technically, trustee Carabota, Supervisor Ramirez made the motion to approve the manual. Trustee Carabota actually said on the tape, motion to amend to table the personnel policy. So that's what he called it, was
So
a
you
motion to
just don't
amend.
have the
And then
motion
technically,
carried on
trustee
the-
McKenzie amended
Right.
the amendment.
on the
Okay,
roll
can
call.
I ask something? What's wrong with it as is?
Because the motion didn't carry, because there were.
There was no motion, I mean, literally, I made a motion, I got interrupted. That's what literally happened.
So we
So-
strike out the
That's
carry.
fine, I just,
So it was amended.
It
motion.
wasn't, my motion was not.
How about motion on a roll call vote as follows?
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
take out the word carry.
Why don't we listen to?
It doesn't say
There's
carry.
a lot of it.
It
It
is
says
carry
carry right here.
Above the nose.
I know what
No,
you're
no,
saying.
no, I'm
It says-
talking
Okay, you
about.
got it?
On page
No,
3
no.
above the
I'm
nose
sorry.
here, it says motion carried when it didn't. So if you just remove, if you just delete the word carry, you're good.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they wanted to delete all of this.
No.
No.
Okay,
Just
we will,
delete
we
carry.
will delete that carry, and actually, we should do this from all the, before anything happened, from all of them.
Yes.
because it
So
was-
why don't we read the
Okay, so
portion,
page
let's
4.
read the amendment. As part of the motion, right? We'll start with page 3, right?
It's just an amendment.
We're done.
We're done.
We can go to
No,
page
we're
4.
done.
So page 4, the bottom of page 4. Well, I've already read it, so.
So why are we adding specifics? You took it out of the first page in paragraph 3, so
Um,
why can we have this as a specific?
I don't care if it's in or not, it doesn't have to be. It was put in there by, in the meeting minutes to amend. It says trustee Carabota and trustee Sweeney pointed out that this project was included. Actually, how it transpired was that I asked a question of Supervisor Ramirez if it was budgeted, and she replied, yes, it is. So we can take out the whole thing, or we can, replace it with Supervisor Ramirez advice that was in the budget.
I'm okay with replacing it.
Yes, that's fine.
Fine.
Okay.
Please, let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready to vote.
No, what's this page
Six.
6? Page 6.
Well, aren't we going to this, we're going down the same rabbit hole?
Yes, we are. So,
No,
I
this is a separate
am
point,
against.
because if we talk about opinions, we should specify whether somebody's pro or against, but in this
No,
case,
that's why
we
see the
had,
video.
we had numerous discussion about being ready to vote on the abatement. So versus just expressing an opinion, we wanted to actually take a
Whose
vote.
opinion, you're against Claire's opinion?
No,
just
Claire's sentence is still in there. Trustee McKenzie expressed her desire to have the attorney present her research and stated she personally had questions.
So why would you add your readiness? You already expressed your readiness.
Where?
It's in there trustee Carabota expressed his disappointment on tabling the tax abatement discussion and voting.
Okay, well, I'm not referenced. and
Well,
I was
because
ready to
you-
vote. Well,
I
because I
can't
did.
change the minutes to reflect something you may or may not have done.
No, not something that I may or may not. I had expressed that there was a lengthy discussion about the excessive reserve that we
There was a
had.
lengthy
and that I
discussion
wanted
about
to-
the sexual harassment
and-
policy, you made
and
us
that-
take that out.
And then
So why is it okay?
I wanted to
to
have a vote, because that was the whole point, that we wanted, the whole meeting was about whether we abate or not. And abating the meeting, abating at that
You
meeting. That we were ready,
proposed-
not as opposed to deferring it.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but
No.
you proposed a levy ordinance. It's clear that you proposed it, it was 100%. I don't know why you need to add this, I don't think it adds anything to our minutes, but that's just my opinion.
And it says that for the detailed discussion on the end, so.
I mean, we all have points to make that we all think are very important.
Okay, well, I guess that's the point, that trustee Carabota's point is in here about expressing disappointment, trustee McKenzie's point is in here, and I really didn't,
What's the purpose?
there's no
We'll take
comment
on
in meeting minutes.
points.
Once the video's gone, there's no comment as to whether.
This was in our officials report. I mean, this is just what we chose as individuals to report on at that particular time. I don't think it's like a ding to you that you didn't have
Right. It's
an
not
opinion in
limiting.
your officials report. You had, you know, yeah, this is under officials report, and I'm reading the wrong place.
No, this is an
Page
official.
6.
It's just before.
No,
that.
this is an official's report.
Just before.
No.
Well, it really is. The motion's over, and it's just a big, a big old discussion for no apparent purpose that shouldn't have happened. I called it out of order 6 times. None of it should have happened. So we're still having this big old discussion on something that had already been voted on page 5. But yet, you're upset that, your specific opinion? Here's what we're gonna do to pacify you, so we can move this meeting along. We're gonna add trustee Sweeney and Carabota expressed their disappointment.
There you go. That's done. There.
Well, even though it probably didn't happen
No,
that way.
Well, it did because-
I watched it.
Oh, I'm just sure, okay. Just
That
to
works.
move this meeting along.
Did you catch that?
Yes.
All right. Are we all good on this?
Yep.
And we're not going to do your other addition on page 6 then, correct?
We just did it.
Yeah,
Right, we just did it. All right. Motion to pass the minutes as amended.
Second.
Having a
I think
motion.
there was already the motion that Susan made to amend the minutes.
Right.
And it was
Second.
second.
In second.
Yeah, you seconded, so
Fine,
again,
no. Take the roll.
sure. Supervisor Moraz,
Yes.
trustee Jones,
Yes.
trustee McKenzie,
Yes.
trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney.
Yes.
That was only 25 minutes. Oh, I apologize. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 6th special board?
Motion to approve the minutes of the March 6th special board meeting.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moraz,
Yes.
trustee Jones,
Yes.
trustee McKenzie,
Yes.
trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney.
Yes.
All right, moving right along. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 19th, 2019 special board meeting?
Motion approved minutes of the March 19, 2019 special board meeting.
Second?
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Aisha, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moraz,
Yes.
trustee Jones,
Yes.
trustee McKenzie,
Yes.
trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney.
Yes.
And we come up to that portion of the evening for public participation. Seeing none, I'm now going to ask for a motion for approval of the general assistance expenditures.
Motion to approve payroll for pay dates of March 8th, 2019 and March 22nd, 2019, and general assistance checks number 51838 through check number 51895 in the amount of $57,076.62.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none. can you-
Wait, sorry.
Sure, trustee McKenzie.
I just have a general point to make and question for our attorney. on all of the bills that we have to approve tonight. This is the end of the fiscal year, and I think it's important to address our line item budget. And I just received the printout. I think I might have been the only one to receive it, so sorry, I'm the spokesperson, but I just want to say that there are some variances that I think that maybe on just a general, if we can do this, attorney, can we just make a general request that for line items that are underfunded, that we are going to agree to amend the budget using the line items that are overfunded, because I think net, all of our funds have enough in the line item budget to compensate for the underfunded line items. So what I'm saying is, net, we are not over budget, but there are specific line items where we are.
And we have the 10%.
Are we operating under the continuing budget, or the fiscal year's end?
Yes.
So we're operating under basically the beginning budget from last year? Because our fiscal year's ending, correct?
Yes, we have a continuing resolution.
Okay, so we're looking at the line items basically like they've been blank from last year. So basically, I would not expect there to be any issues right now going over line items, since basically we're starting with a new budget.
But a lot of these expenses are for February.
Oh, from the prior fiscal year? Then, yeah, as long as there's contingency there, then...
There is no contingency. I'm in the dark. I don't know what you were emailed. I have no
I don't know, this
idea.
isn't emailed,
No,
we didn't have it in our
We
packet.
didn't have our board packet that included all these.
Usually we get the budget, the 12-month budget,
Right.
showing actual versus budget.
Right,
And
I
because
never
it's the
said
end
it
of
in February, if Denise actually gave us a quick explanation as to why.
Because we're on an accrual, what the numbers now, right at the end of the month, are going to change. So in March, I actually had bills from February that had to go back into, back into February, even though they were processed in March. And I will continue to have that. The bulk of them have gone in, but there are still going to be bills that may come in that pertain to February, and because of the accrual, I have to do this through the last day of April. So these numbers are still going to change, and
So I usually wait, what I usually do, I did this last year, but maybe you don't remember, I usually wait just like an extra week or two. I actually didn't realize that you really rely on these to look at the bills, so I apologize, but just the last month of the fiscal year, I wait just an extra week or two, and then I email it to you, only because the numbers really aren't that accurate, although it could give you somewhat of a picture for each line item. But I normally clear you that, but we can send it to everybody, so it'll give you kind of a basic picture of where we're at, but they're not super accurate.
they are going to be different.
Right, so it's gonna, they're all gonna change, most lines will change a little bit, yeah.
And if, when the auditor does his audit, he made the adjustments also. There may be some adjustments that'll happen there. So you don't really have the final numbers until the audit.
No, I understand.
They're going to be pretty close, and I can give you, I'll give those to her, and you'll have an idea. You'll have an idea, but understand that they're not going to be the final.
Yeah. So, we have actuals though through February 28th.
Yes.
Okay. So my question, Kurt, is that, and Laura, is that we are being asked to approve bills. But there are many at this point, because we're at the end of the fiscal year, many line items where we are over budget. And we would otherwise have to amend our budget in order to pay them, I think. No?
Only if it's 10% over the funds.
By the line item, right?
I just got this, so I haven't been, crunching how many of them are over 10%. That's why I'm proposing that we just make if we can do this, make a general, if everybody will agree, I don't know if it's a resolution or an understanding or an agreement or whatever it is, that we are going to look at the overfunded items to compensate for the underfunded items, because net, it looks like each of the funds is fine, net, but there's going to be a lot of juggling around, and I think we have to eventually do that. I don't know, but I think.
I don't either. So I think it's premature. I don't think, So basically, it's a goal, is there's.
So
Because
we
we
are
don't have anything on
asked,
the agenda, so we can't really sort of pass a resolution.
but then how do we approve?
So you can transfer funds as long as it's less than 10%
Right.
between, transfer within the fund, as long as it's less than 10%.
Right.
So if there is money in the fund, you can transfer that.
So I'm
within
being,
the
I mean,
fund,
I
from
think
line
your
item
point
to
is
line
well
item.
taken. It's absolutely gonna be,
And what is the limitation for each line item that you're?
there is none. It's 10% of the fund.
Okay.
Right.
There is
10% of the
no
fund.
expenditures, and there's no additional.
10% of the fund.
So you can transfer between line items between the fund as long as it's not more than 10% of the total. So that gives you some
I
flexibility
didn't
within
know
the
if it was
fund.
a second.
And do we know that we're within 10%?
I'm looking right now,
That's
so,
the problem.
so for, I mean,
No, since everything's changing again, I mean,
well,
we may be, I can't tell you that right off the top of my head. I think we should be okay. But
Well,
we
I
may
think
not
I
be,
can-
because you guys did a -5%. I mean, I don't know without looking at the numbers.
well, so if we could just get a blessing, is it, as trustees, are we not supposed to look at what's been budgeted for versus what has been placed before us for approval to make sure that the amounts that have been asked of us to approve are budgeted for? Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. So, I mean, I might be making too much of this, but if these line items, and I'm sorry for speaking for you guys,
No,
but
no, I agree.
I'm trying to understand this. If these specific line items are any of them, and I don't know if they are, but if any of them are over the amount, at least either the budgeted line amount or 10% of the total operating expenses for that fund, do we not have to talk about that tonight before we can approve this? Because I don't think as trustees, we can approve something if it's not within the budget. I'm just asking.
I can tell you it's not gonna be over 10% of the fund.
Okay, so,
If we have that stipulation.
Well, it's not a stipulation. I mean,
I think I can easily look at this because
I don't believe it's over. I don't think it's
we
over.
can
I
approve line item
it's-
transfers at the next meeting if you want.
I can figure it out. So, for instance, road and bridge, total
We have-
expenditures is 136,000. So as long as no line item is over by 13,600, we're good, right? Am I reading that?
It's if it's at the fund, yeah, yeah.
If that's the fund, not the line item, fund.
The whole road and bridge fund.
Oh, I'm looking
So,
at
yeah,
the
we,
very
general
inside.
assistance fund, town
So-
fund, road bridge.
Oh, yeah, we are way, yeah, there's no problem.
Correct. That's why I didn't want to, yeah.
Right. Those
What about-
figures,
What about the other two?
Okay, so let me look at the
It's the same.
The, is it budget or actual? Budget? 10% of budget?
10% of what was budgeted, yes.
So it was 4,000,001, so we would have, okay, so, yeah, so there's nothing. Okay,
Right.
so-
And
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It was sprung on me and I've been having pneumonia this week, so
I
I'm a
think
little.
what Chris told us too is that we don't have to transfer within line item to line item, or as long as we're within the 10% of the total bottom. So I think what you're looking at too is okay. If
Right.
the line items are over,
Yeah, that's, I just wanted to make sure.
that we go over the bottom line 10%.
Yeah, right, okay, so general
What's the general
town,
assistance?
so general assistance, total operating budgeted is 831,000.
We're good.
We're very good,
Oh, you're very good.
yeah.
Everybody good?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, it was a very
Thank
good
you.
question. Thank you, Claire.
But, you know, if you ask, yeah,
That's-
no, I get it. All right.
I mean, it's a lot of money, we have to make sure we're.
No, I'm not yelling at you. I just had no idea what was, okay.
All right, sorry for
That's okay.
hijacking the discussion.
No, I'm glad that, so going back to, I don't know where we're
GA, we have a motion on the table.
Is there a motion and a second on the
Yes.
table?
Yes.
Okay, so we had our discussion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Fiesha, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Perez,
Yes.
trustee Jones,
Yes.
trustee McKenzie,
Yes.
trustee Carabora.
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney. Yes.
All right, and now can I have a motion for approval of the road district expenditures?
Motion to approve payroll for pay dates of March 8th and 2019 and March 22nd, 2019, and road district checks number 2,805 through check, let me repeat that, number 20805 through check number 20849 in the amount of $132,376.46.
Second.
Having a motion and a tied second, is there any discussion?
One, if I may, for check number 20833, inquiry to Mr. Kismerchik. There's a legal expenditure, it looks like it's a total of $8,700 from a January billing. And my inquiry is that within your budgeted line item for legal services? Are you within your budget on that?
No, but basically we're talking about particular fund, it would cover it if you don't have line item transfers. That was when we were discussing a tax levy.
Yeah, I just want to know if you're within the budget, if that's,
No, it's over, that line item is over.
okay, but are you within then, as trustee McKenzie was,
Yeah.
are you within the 10% adjustment?
Yeah, I'm definitely in there. I had tried early on in the fiscal year, maybe May or June.
But you are within the 10%?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
That's my question, that was my inquiry. So the adjustments can be made within the budget, within that 10% ceiling to cover this expenditure, right?
Correct.
What was that amount for, Wally?
Well, that was
$700.
discussion, I was worried about the tax levy, whether, there was pressure to have it zero under, and I just I felt comfortable with backup with an attorney. He sat here for 2 or 3 months, primarily in December when the levy was voted on, and I just felt compelled to have some kind of legal opinion in case there was some doubt whether or not the levy could be set by the board as opposed to the highway commission.
Is there any brief or opinion that you can
I mean,
share
if
with
you're
us?
if you're going to talk about that, since I reviewed the bill, I just want to point out that there was more done than just a legal opinion on the levy. There were actual pleadings that were prepared on an emergency basis more than 10 days before the levy was even due.
Because we voted on this only a few days before the legal limit as to when you could file your tax levy. If I had a
It was
vote
more
that
than
was
10
contrary.
days. It was more than 10 days before, and apparently you approved the attorneys to draft pleadings that were, in my opinion, unnecessary, but.
A lot of, I agree it was unnecessary in the sense that it shouldn't have been a problem to begin with. But I wasn't assured that how that vote would go, and just to stand here with no legal opinion and no credentials in terms of the legal profession, I felt more comfortable hiring an attorney. And I prefer not to, because if you look at what we spent for the fiscal year, it's under what was budgeted in its entirety. That
No,
particular
it's
line
by
item.
$3,000, well, you need to read your budget.
Okay, this one check was for $8,700, and it also is looking at budget numbers as well, not just levies. So we're not privy to, and some of it was asking for documentation that I had provided. which I don't know why, even for
Well,
legal fees of having the opinion, you could have asked me for some of the documentation as opposed to asking.
all I know is, there was that comfort factor, and I was shocked at the cost too. I guess lawyers are expensive, as we're all well aware, lawyers are expensive.
And I do know, yeah, I concur that, yeah, that there are more issues in the levy here. And looking at the building, there's budgeting, you know, the issue of budget was also something that you apparently raised with the attorneys, with your attorney there. So it is a concern. It jumps out as a concern.
And if there are briefs or documentation that were received as a result of this $8,700 that we as a board, you know, could have access to, that was learned that we are unaware of, I would like to see that.
You do understand that the reason you hired the attorney is because you were giving him a hard time about whether or not he could approve his own levy and his own budget, which is the law. And so
These dates are
I'm
before
talking, but he saw the writing on the wall. So he hired the attorney as a direct result of Trustee Sweeney and Trustee Carabona giving him a hard time about whether or not he could create his own budget and levy. So those fees were a direct result of you two. And as you two said last year, it's a cost of doing business. So.
I would totally disagree with those comments, but would agree with
So what's
Susan,
the
that I would
point
agree with
here?
Susan Sweeney that it'd be good to see those opinions that were generated. And my question was answered. My question was
No, I-
simply,
Okay, here's
are
the
you-
deal.
are you-
He has no problem
I
with
don't want to
this.
interrupt it if I'm talking.
No, I'm gonna short circuit this. He has no problem with you.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Well, I'm actually requesting it
And
to be done.
I stand on, for me to approve the bill, I'm relying upon the representation, which is fine, that it's within your budget or within 10% of adjustment. That's what I was looking for.
That's what I was just about, and not only will you get that representation, you'll have the legal documents. So, are we good?
Good.
Awesome. Ready to take a vote? Great,
Supervisor Moraz?
yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Calabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
All right. Need a motion for approval of the general town fund expenditures.
Motion to approve payroll for pay dates of March 8th, 2019, and March 22nd, 2019, and general town fund checks number 56647 through check number 56704 in the amount of $254,257.47.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, Alicia, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moraz?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Calabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
Okay, moving right along. New business, we have an ordinance to allow attendance by electronic means. And I will have our attorney present this.
Yes, I certainly can. So the Open Meetings Act provides that you can allow, or you have to adopt a policy if you want to allow any board member to attend by electronic means. We prepared a sample policy. It basically just reiterates what is in the Open Meetings Act and sets forth the procedure for how a board member can attend by electronic means. The Open Meetings Act actually limits the scenarios where that is permitted. It's only when a trustee or a supervisor can't attend because of illness, employment, or business issues, or if there's a family or other emergency. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about the policy. Again, it's basically just codifying what's in the Open Meetings Act.
I have some proposed edits to it, so if we can talk in terms of, I'll pass this down.
board can adopt different, they can adopt their own rules as far as how they like.
Is there another copy for the?
Attach on electronic means.
Yeah, there should be one.
No.
Tell me that. I
Yeah.
have another one, but that wasn't Okay. As it pertains to the last 2 pages behind the actual ordinance and remote participation policy number, section 2, where it states prerequisites, in the first paragraph, what I was suggesting was that you could strike the majority of the quorum of the township board votes to approve the remote attendance and substitute that with, as defined, substitute the whole next section, as defined. Reason being is that I see no reason for a vote if we were to meet by statute the criteria of 5 ILCS 120/7, which says that basically what we would substitute is that the quorum of the members of the public body is physically present as required by section 2.01. The majority of the public body may allow a member of the body to attend the meeting by other means if the member is prevented from physically attending because of, number 1, personal illness or disability, 2, employment purposes or the business of the public body, or 3, a family emergency, family or other emergency. Others means is by video or audio conference. So that this is the statute. And then B, if a member wishes to attend by other means, the member must notify the recording secretary or clerk of the public body before the meeting unless advanced notice is impractical. And then add a section 4 within section 2, add a number 4. Voting is only allowed if a board member has information which would invalidate any remote participation due to actual knowledge of non-compliance of the prerequisite as defined in 5 ILCS 120/7A. And section 3 and section 4 are only allowed if this invalidation is stated by one of the board members. I see no reason for a vote because I think it should be automatic because the criteria is defined by which the prerequisite, as it says in the beginning, the member of the township board of Maine Township shall be provided the opportunity to attend. So it doesn't say may, it says shall. So if we are allowing for it to attend, given the Open Meetings Act, excuse me, not the Open Meetings Act, but given the statute of the 5 ILCS 120/7, then there's no reason for a vote.
So the only reason that we include a vote is that if you'll read it, it says the majority of the public body may allow a member of that body to attend the meeting. So we've always interpreted that as have the public body vote beforehand to satisfy that requirement. If, under the policy, if the board would like to adopt basically a blanket approval for anybody that meets those conditions, I think that's within the board's purview.
Okay, so this would be allowed then? And then we would...
But there's a reason why he didn't.
The only concern there is that if there's a dispute about whether or not somebody actually meets one of those criteria, that's why you have to vote, so that it's affirmed whether or not they're actually participating in the meeting, so that you know for voting purposes further on. Because then if there's, say there's a dispute about whether or not they're actually on vacation, for example.
Right, that was why I thought, if they had knowledge that the board, if any one member had, something that would invalidate it, meaning that was what I put section 2 for. With that, for that exact reason. If somebody was on vacation versus illness, then,
And there's actual knowledge.
then there's actual knowledge of non-compliance, and that,
But
that
you made it-
that would then trigger a vote. Otherwise,
A
there
vote
really
of what?
shouldn't be a vote. There really shouldn't be a vote at all,
But yeah,
because
So the only
you don't
concern
have
there
the
is
right to
that
vote against it if by
the-
statute it's allowed.
Well, where did you get your law degree? I'm not.
That's okay, don't even go.
Go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
The only concern
Please.
is that actual knowledge of non-compliance is always going to be up for dispute. So basically, you'd have somebody have the ability to call for a vote if they wanted to, and then there would be a question about whether or not they have actual knowledge if somebody's actually on vacation and things like that. So it could lead to a dispute about whether or not a vote should even take place. So that would be my concern about putting something in there, because then not only are you not having, there might be a vote, but you're also going to have a dispute about whether or not a vote might take place. So if you want to have either a blanket approval, and then you're going to trust trustees' word that they actually meet one of those criteria, that's something you can do, or just have it be a vote every time where the board just approves somebody to attend. I think if you include provisions when a vote will be triggered, it might get more difficult to administer.
Okay.
Well, so can I just ask, how practically does this work? Say, I can't make it to the next meeting because one of these things pops up, like if it's an emergency, what if it doesn't happen until right before? How do I get the vote that it's okay?
So you'll have to dial in, and then we'll have a system where we'll have to have a phone up here where you'll be able to dial in and participate. There will be a roll call, and then there would be a vote immediately of the board to approve you participating electronically. And if it didn't pass, you wouldn't participate, and if it did pass, you'd be able to participate just as if you were here, as long as there's a quorum physically present.
And if it wasn't, I'm sorry. And if it wasn't done that way, and if it was done in this other way where it's automatic, if we decided to look at that, then how would you, if Dave said he had an emergency and I thought that he didn't, when we called it, or when he called in, I would say, I would like to take a vote?
I guess that's the trouble with trying to put in a trigger for when a vote's called.
Right.
Is that there could be disputes about when a vote is needed. So that's why I think you should even have some blanket rule that if somebody actually is going to dial in, you're going to take their word for it and you're going to allow them to participate, or just have the vote every time, and that way it's going to be clear that, they're going to be allowed to participate. I think having any ambiguity might lead to disputes about whether or not somebody has the right to vote later on in the meeting, things like that. So having that cleared up right away, either blanket approval or a vote, I think is the better option to avoid any ambiguity there.
Okay, I can see that, I can
Blanket
see
approval.
blanket approval.
I think she's saying the
I
opposite.
like,
Because it's
I'm agreeing with Claire and the lawyer. I think you
Yeah,
are
I'm
actually agreeing with the
agreeing with
lawyer. I think it's a simple vote each time.
yeah, that way it's on
It's a
the
safeguard
record
for everybody.
that we
Yeah.
vote, that we all understand that the person
Right.
who's calling in has the right to do that, and nobody is questioning whether or not they meet these criteria.
Right.
I don't generally like an automatic thing when it comes to a vote, but
Well, they still have to meet the statute, which calls for,
But
you know, the
but the way I asked Kurt, like, how would one of us, like, how would you question if I said I had an emergency? We would have to say, well, you know what, before we go on, I question whether Claire's really on whatever, this emergency. I think that's more awkward than just having a straight vote, but that's just my opinion. I mean, we could
That's my opinion.
Let me mention a concern,
Yeah.
and hopefully you can clarify,
Yeah.
and we can
because
clear up this concern, okay? The body says, hey, look, you meet all the criteria, you're set. But then it adds this, and the majority of the quorum of the township, and the majority of the quorum of the township board votes to approve the remote attendance. So that means even if you meet the criteria, the board can knock you out under here, correct?
The board's essentially given the purview to decide if you meet the criteria or not. So
Right.
that's why we have the vote. So basically, if somebody says, I'm on a business meeting, and the rest of the board thinks they're actually on vacation, the board can vote to say, we don't think you meet it, basically.
Or if it doesn't, or if the board, with the way this is written, it could be for any, they can simply vote you out, the way this is
No.
written. It says, and a majority of the quorum of the township board votes to approve the remote attendance. If a majority of the quorum of the township board does not vote to approve your remote attendance, you're not getting that remote attendance based on what
Right.
But I
That's-
think the way that I would read that, and maybe, I think the way that we have to interpret it is that they're voting on whether or not they meet the criteria in the policy. I don't think they're, questioning legislative intent is always hard, but I think that's what the policy is about, is that they're voting to see whether or not they meet the criteria to participate.
And that's why this addition says the vote is limited to the issue, if there is an issue. It's limited to the issue of whether or not the party actually meets the criteria. The way this is written right now, it's good faith that that there's not going to be a board member that doesn't have.
I think pretty much everything about.
So that's why we add that criteria. The only time there's a vote.
It is all, certainly we can clarify that. I think generally it is good faith because there's not going to be a lot of fact finding here about whether or not somebody's actually meeting these criteria.
Right.
It's just going to be up to whether or not the board member states that and the board believes it. But
I'd
we
like
can certainly.
to have a little bit to just that issue, because the way this is written, if I don't want Susan to participate by electronic ability, I can vote no.
So we just clarify
That's-
that it's for those reasons.
Doesn't it say that?
It does say that.
Not the way it's written.
That's why I don't see the need to really vote. It should be allowed if we pass it, other than if somebody has specific knowledge that
All of the members physically
it's not to
present
preclude
are
somebody
permitted
from having
to vote.
specific knowledge.
Hang on. I have an amendment proposed. Okay. So, how about under section 3, all of the members physically present are permitted to vote on whether remote participation will be allowed for the factors listed above. I mean, I don't think it's needed, but isn't that what we're saying?
What I'm saying is that vote provision should be limited to only, and be clear, that it's only if there is an issue as to whether or not the criteria is met by that particular person, there's actual knowledge that's based upon, so then the board then takes a vote. Right now, the way it's written, you need both. You need the criteria, and you need the board who's going to want you around.
So you're going to ask people if they're really sick?
No, so what happens is that, no, the only time there's a vote, is if someone raises the question and says, hey, Dave's not really sick. Okay, what do you base that on? Well, I saw him at the golf range, okay? So then okay, if you have actual knowledge, you put that on the record, then there's a vote. But other than that, because right now you need both. You need to be sick and you need to have a board
All right,
that
so-
votes to allow you to do it.
I'm sorry.
So the way it's written isn't clear.
All right,
It
so
just
what
doesn't
would,
seem like
are
you
you
need to
okay
vote, the
with my
criteria
addition?
are met.
Sorry, I was.
You know,
listening to
unless
all right,
somebody
my
knows-
addition would
Maybe you don't like
be-
actual knowledge, but there's a substitution
Right.
to that.
No.
I guess-
To what I put in number 4.
There's never really going to be a fact-finding process for this, so
Right.
that's why we would have a vote just for the board to decide whether or not they believe they meet the criteria. And
That's why I think that's.
frankly,
Well,
you're
and
not
that's all
going to
it needs to say, will be allowed us,
That's why I was saying.
if they meet the criteria. It
No.
will be allowed as to whether they meet the criteria.
yes, and we can clarify that. I think that's the
Can
intent
we
of
have
the
that?
policy.
As to whether they meet the criteria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so wait, where
Because I just
So
don't,
at the end of this, and a majority of the quorum, blah, 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 votes,
I'm adding it in a section.
it will refer to whether or not.
yeah, we go right after that.
It
Not
would
to a
be
separate
all
section.
the members
So
physically
we're still
present.
taking a vote, though.
Remember, if we add it to
Wait,
section,
everybody just wants to keep talking.
if we add it to section 2, right after the word remote attendance, there has to be additional words there, not in a separate subparagraph. It's got to be right there, limited
Did you
to,
hear what she said?
limited to. I did, I heard it. And it can't be in, it doesn't cover it if it's in 3.
We'd be happy to bring back a revised
No,
policy. to make
I
that-
need
great.
to pass this tonight if you want my participation in April. I will be at the Mayo Clinic.
We could stipulate that there's going to be electronic.
Well,
We can
no,
stipulate
I mean,
that,
it
Laura.
has to be passed. You cannot do it.
We could stipulate it, could we stipulate as a board that Laura Morass can participate?
Well,
No,
we have to,
you
unfortunately, the Open
actually
Meetings Act
cannot do
requires
that.
us to have the policy.
Okay, so let's fix it then. So what's the
So-
I'm not
suggestion?
adding in section 2. I was proposing to add it in section 3. And what I was proposing to add was all of the members physically present are permitted to vote on whether remote participation will be allowed as to whether the above criteria have been met.
So,
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
The sentence before,
I don't know
Laura,
the sentence
Laura,
before
Laura,
Laura
Laura,
says it's
can I make some suggestions here?
Yes.
So in section 2, so a member of the township board, Maine Township, will have the opportunity to attend an open and closed meeting or only one of such meetings from location if the member meets the following conditions as determined by a majority of the quorum of the township board after the vote to approve attendance. So that is, the board is determining whether or not they meet the criteria. And then in section 3, a vote of a majority of the quorum shall be necessary to decide the issue as to whether the member meets the criteria of this policy to participate electronically.
Okay, so that, all right.
No, we're putting in something that's not in the actual act, which is number 1 with the 24 hours. That's not in the law, is defined. I mean, not that we.
It's not, and we're allowed to adopt
We're allowed
our
to.
policies, and that's
Yeah, we're
just
allowed to
generally what
respect.
we've suggested, so that there's some
Okay.
time frame. But
But
board's free to change that.
Yeah, especially, it says unless advanced notice.
Unless, right.
All right, will you write those down?
Yeah, I'm making those changes.
And then I need you to make them on this official copy.
I'll send you a revised copy.
Could you repeat what you said, Kurt?
Yes.
You've also changed the small 3 or section 3? The small 3?
Section.
Section 2,
Right.
so if the member meets the following conditions, comma, as determined by a majority vote of, or a vote of the majority of the quorum of the township board. So basically, they're determining whether or not they meet the criteria. And then in section 4, a vote of majority of a quorum shall be necessary to decide the issue as to whether the member meets the criteria to participate electronically. Does that sound good?
Could you read that one more time?
Yes.
4?
4, a vote of a majority of a quorum shall be necessary to decide the issue as to whether the member meets the criteria to participate electronically or remotely, sorry.
All right, so I am going, what's the number on this?
That's the policy. The ordinance number is 2019-3.
2019-3? I feel like we've used 2019-3. I feel like we've used 2019-3 for an abatement.
There was 2. One, it wasn't passed, and number 2, which was passed.
Okay.
Number 3, we didn't even touch.
So 3 is the next one?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to pass the Maine Township Remote Participation Policy Ordinance Number 2019-3 as amended.
Second.
With a motion and a second, is there any further discussion?
One other comment. In the statute, it defines others by video or audio conference. I just really, and I've read, I also know that, you know, you can allow, the definition of meeting includes internet connection and instant messaging and the other things that are referenced here. Electronic mail and electronic chat. One of the reasons why I put the actual statute was that it actually says in there that it's video or audio conference. If we get into allowing for instant messaging and chatting and
Most of us don't even
just
know how to do
emails,
I
that would
think
be.
it's understood, we don't have the capacity to do any of that.
I think that was meant to be like where you can audio or chat or video through like an instant messaging service.
Yeah.
I think
But if
that's the
somebody
intent
just
of that.
started emailing, that is allowed per what's actually in the definition of meeting, section 7 by law. But in the.
So, but you're looking at
section
worst
Act
case
120.
scenario, we're not gonna do that. We're doing video, or, I mean, we're not doing video, right now we only have capacity to do audio.
So
So,
we can take all that out then.
why?
Why am?
Well, because I can't change it again. I mean,
We
what,
just delete that.
Can we
Strike
delete
it, yeah,
sections, can we strike section 7?
what is section 7?
Last page, section 7, title meetings. If we strike that, then that takes care of that. Because the statute says what it is.
Well, it would be either video, audio, telephone call, right?
Which is what the statute says, yeah.
And I don't know how.
So,
we would do
actually,
it.
I guess I'm sorry, the way that we're defining meeting, that's gonna be for all meetings, so that if a majority of the quorum of the board, 3 are engaging in an instant chat message, that's gonna be a meeting. So this is for purposes of OMA generally, not just this policy.
Right, he was defining what a meeting is, not what this
But
policy.
this policy
It's
is
under
no
this policy, it's under the,
participation.
it's under
Well,
the
right,
policy.
because that is the
Defining.
definition.
So, and that's
of
just,
a meeting.
we're just redefining
We're
meeting.
trying to be
Yes.
over here.
Yes.
Right? So, in other words, if 3 people get together and insta-message each other, that's a meeting.
So if you're looking at section 1,
We're not saying
policy
we're
statement,
doing
it's just via
that.
telephone, video, or
These-
internet
These are
connection.
definitions.
So I don't think that.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah. We're defining meeting generally since we're trying to track OMA's definition of meeting. That's going to apply to all other meetings, not just a meeting that's going to have remote participation. I don't believe that the policy would allow somebody to participate through emails.
No.
Well, what's to prevent that if section 7 stays in there?
Section 7, so that's to ensure that somebody can't do an end run around the Open Meetings Act by having basically a meeting through instant messages or emails, where you would have, when we put don't reply all, that would make it a meeting, so that's why that's in there. So somebody's gonna have to be on the phone or in an audio conference to participate electronically.
Is there any further discussion? Clerk Deisha, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moraz?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Carabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes, for the edited changes that
Yeah.
we talked about by our attorney.
Yeah,
It
yes.
was amended.
By attorney, okay.
Okay. Now, the next order of business is, and I wanted to bring this to the board because I don't have any real opinion one way or the other. Other than, okay, so we were asked by the Park Ridge Chamber of Commerce if we wanted to do our community guide ad that apparently we've done every year. However, I know the board has had a change, that we are not participating, at least dues-wise, in any chambers of commerce. This really has nothing to do with dues. This is to be in the Chamber of Commerce Community Guide. So it's up to you guys. Quarter page is $420, 8th page is $247.
Is this the exact ad that we would be using, or do we have?
This, well, they
Flexibility
give us, actually, it's a 2-page ad. So, this is one part of it, and then the other part
Is the listing of all the elected
is the
officials.
listing of all the
But I
elected
could not
officials.
copy it to show it to you.
But Laura, is a question whether it's an 1/8 of a page or a quarter page. I think an 1/8 page is kind of small.
It is. Okay, I just was trying to be
I
fiscal.
agree.
And one of the things I noticed is that
This, So, you guys have this, drink and make copies.
I saw this, but I don't have the,
So,
I
And
noticed,
the other,
so the other part of it is the listing of the
Right,
elected.
all the elected officials and their titles. And our address and phone number.
Yeah.
Trustee
fax.
I noticed that veteran services are on here, and there's no, like recovery connections, and
That's last year's ad.
This is last year's.
that's why I was asking if it differed from this, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, we would
Is this
have,
different?
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so it'd be different. It's more
So it'll be,
updated.
we can make it whatever.
We'll
we
modify it.
okay.
Alex does our ad work, and he works very closely with the chamber. You know, I tend to agree with Dave. I think if we're gonna do it, I think
Do it right.
Page, do it right. So, you know, we did save quite a bit not being a member. So these are extra anyways. I don't see the harm in doing it. I think it's good exposure, but that's my personal opinion. And I think it helps. One of the biggest things, I'm sure you guys have realized in your tenure, is telling residents what we do. You know, and like your point is well taken, recovery connection.
And
you
food
know,
pantry's
better.
not on here either.
No, that's because this was last year's.
So last year we had food pantry, we've always had food pantry.
And I
It was, or it was just missed.
When is it due? Maybe we can just look at.
Well, it's due on, you know,
Being published in May, we try to get it as soon as possible.
it's published May 23rd. They all want, you know, they were giving us, you know, awesome pricing if we did it, you know. April 12th.
Yeah, so then you can do the, we can accomplish the changes, right, just to add those things.
Oh, sure. I mean, but, you know, that would be up to, you know, we would work with Alex. And, you know, there's only so many things that can fit. So I think that, you know, like, I agree, food pantry, like maybe general assistance / food pantry. But then those are things, you know, and
Passport.
passport, I think, things like recovery connection, very important catch, very important.
Yeah, and if we had food pantry separately, I would suggest just.
That's fine, you know, it depends on how, you
Gives you
know,
more focus.
like, and also it's an opportunity we can rework it, you know. This has been our ad, I think, for a long time. And the second part will be the same. I mean, that's the listing of the elected officials.
So, I mean, just, maybe everybody else knows what Mainstreamers is, but I would not have known if I wasn't connected to this organization, so maybe just being more descriptive on like what services the average person would relate to.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Well, and also, there's things like, you know, I don't know, at a certain point, you have to decide,
Right.
you know, the top one, you know,
Right.
whether OEM is as important as mainstreamers, which it isn't. No offense to OEM, but it isn't. You know, mainstreamers assists, like, and Claire's point is well taken, you know, that, especially now with Marie and her department having really diversified her programming to be, you know, for younger seniors and older seniors. I think we're one of the very few that does that, you know. And the Senior Expo is coming up, so it's a good opportunity. So I think we're all in agreement on the basic and the, Alex can work on, you know, but I think your point, Dave, is right. With a half a page, we can get more room. Or, I'm sorry, quarter of a page.
Quarter page.
We can get more room And
And
therefore,
if we need to, because of the description, I would say forego the name of the elected officials and put the information here, if need be. You know,
I think you
because of
can't
the
get it
space.
up, but you can't get it on one side though.
well, they give you, it's sort of like they give you that, they're not gonna take it away.
Okay.
The elected officials, I mean, it's not like I necessarily want my name there, but, it's just, that's always been sort of an extra, am I right, Alex? It's just always, for some reason, we get 2 pages. I think because we were such a long time. I don't know if they do it for everybody or not. Maybe they do, and they tell us we're special. Everybody likes to hear they're special.
Yeah, so you got all the punch points on one side, that'd be great.
Yeah, so, I think we can do that. Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion to, have the Park Ridge Chamber of Commerce, to participate in the Park Ridge Chamber of Commerce Community Guide ad at a quarter-page rate of $420.
Second.
Having a motion and a tied second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Ross?
Yes.
Trustee Markmanzi?
Yes.
Sorry, Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Markmanzi?
Yes.
Trustee Carabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney?
Yes. Now, I also want to point out that for anybody who has need of finishing, redoing, completing their biography on the website, we stand ready, willing, and able to help you do that. Going to call Ryan. And take it off, and Kim, you have a great resume. I'll take it off your firm's website. I'm just looking out for it.
Thank you.
I mean, I've actually had people ask me. Yeah, I mean, just, I want everybody's there, so, it's always a work in progress, it may not be perfect. Anyways, I wasn't trying to underestimate. So I'm gonna, switch around old business, because, with personnel, so that we can get some of these people out of here before we, have been informed. Under old business, we have approval of closed session minutes. That's gonna happen in open session, but we also have a closed session. I've been informed by our attorney.
Are we allowed to do that for the Open Meetings Act?
Closed
Change
session?
agenda items around?
Pardon me? Closed session or?
No, change agenda items around. I thought there was,
You can, if there's disputes, you can have a motion to amend the agenda. Generally, if there's just a consensus to move to the next item, there's no Open Meetings Act issue.
It may sound like it's not on. It's just to, I mean, I don't have any problem if we want to, keep them waiting, and do approval of the closed session minute. Does everybody have a copy of it?
no.
There we go.
No, go ahead. Supervisor Ross.
So, keep in mind, these have already been approved. Alright, so, basically on September 25th, we had a closed session meeting to approve and release minutes from February 12th and May 22nd. So now, because we did approve and release those, now we got that closed session of September 25th. So this could go on and on and on, and tonight, but it should end now. We believe that this will end. Yeah. Hopefully. So, the only issue is to approve and release two separate motions, the closed session minutes of September 25th that had approved and released the closed session minutes of February 12th and May 26th.
So these have not been approved for content yet? They haven't approved for content?
Yes, they have been
So it's just
approved
one
for
motion
content.
to either release or keep them content?
Correct, for September 25th.
Yes.
Wait, this has been, the September 25th was approved for content?
No, the subject of which,
So these minutes actually haven't been approved for
No,
content?
these minutes
Okay,
have
so
not
then we will
been
need
approved.
to, yes.
right, we need to
Yes.
Well,
approve
can I,
and
may I
release.
ask a question?
Sure.
Is there a reason why we can't get these in advance?
Yes, and Vieshana knows the reason. I don't know.
The closed session minutes, they were never sent in advance. They were always,
We don't recommend including them in board packets, because
Right.
if there's anything privileged, then we would waive that privilege. So generally, we recommend passing them out individually so that there's no issue with confidentiality.
We would have to waive the privilege if we gave it, not online for the general public, but I mean, can't this be given to us in advance? Just to the board
But that
members?
still waives.
Not if it's just given to the board individually and it's not in a board packet.
I'm requesting in the future we do it that way, so I have time to digest it.
Oh, you mean given to you but not put in? Or
Not online, right, but just given to us in the board packet.
Yeah,
I would
hopefully
separate
this
from the- I would
won't
recommend
be
separate
in-
from the board packet.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why we've never done that. So,
even the ones that are just like closed session already minutes, because these are not closed session minutes, right? These are the review of the closed session.
right.
Oh,
But it's still minutes of what happened
it
during
would
that.
happen, exactly.
Yes.
But, yes.
Thus,
Yeah, but it's-
so everybody read.
This is a second review. Last month we had the first one, now we have
That's it.
of the same minutes, yes.
That's right.
This one you were watching the tape, listening to the tape, I was.
Oh, living on site.
I'm not done yet.
Right? Oh, no, here we go. Tell me when you guys are ready.
Just to refresh my memory, were the votes, the actual votes, the yeses and the nos in closed session, or were they in the open session afterward?
Oh,
They're both, right?
So you get consensus in closed session about what's going
That's
to be
right.
voted on in open session.
There was everything, Lisa.
Can't you reflect that this is consensus because you technically are not supposed to take
Right.
votes in closed session and all these are motions and votes, and I thought it was a consensus, not a motion to approve and a vote.
It's technically not the final action, so there's not a real violation, but it is technically a consensus. The final action
Can we
is what
reflect
you're
it
taking
as
on.
such, as a consensus as opposed to a
Yeah, with that one
motion
amendment,
with a
that one
vote?
amendment.
and where is
Because
that?
Basically, anytime there's a vote that
It's a-
say that there was a consensus to release,
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
even need that.
yeah,
So, but where is it?
just
Well,
anytime
it's
there's,
throughout all the
it's in a
votes.
few different places. Just
1,
anytime
2,
there's
3,
votes,
4, 5.
replacing it that there was a consensus.
Any further? Oh, I haven't made a motion. Alright, I got two motions. First motion is to approve the closed session minutes of September 25th, 2018, that began at 8:33 p.m. And ended at 9:40 p.m. and with the amendment of replacing the word vote with consensus wherever it appears. Do I have a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a tie second, is there any further discussion on that motion?
Yes, the word vote actually doesn't appear. I would just add consensus. So.
Oh, so it's not an issue. Why would we want to make an issue?
Well, because
It is,
when
it's,
this is released, it looks to me like a vote.
Yeah, it's a physical vote, what they're doing, you know. So just do word consensus whenever you vote.
That's a little vague.
Well, in other words, a consensus, right, by each vote, that it's a consensus.
No, because it says when you go out of closed session, then in other meetings, when you take the final action, so.
Right, I'm a little confused. Where would you like to, like, specifically add it? I mean, just give me an example. I'm not trying to be contrary. I just,
What did you choose?
Second.
The second page at the top, difficulty to hear, seat tape period right before the vote, trustee seconded, that right in there, a word should be consensus.
So-
Right, after seconded period, consensus, colon, no, 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 yes, yes. That's how it'd be consensus, colon, right before each vote.
Yeah, you just say the consensus of the board was as follows, and then show what they are.
Right, there we go.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the consensus.
Basically, I think here was.
As follows?
The consensus of the board was as follows.
Consensus.
Go through that.
all right, so we're just saying the
Just the-
consensus.
yeah.
Anything else? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Perez?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Carabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
All right, now I'm gonna make a motion to release these minutes having been approved, finding that there is no further need for confidentiality.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, can you call it?
Supervisor Perez?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Carabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
Alrighty, now, next order of business is an OEM interim part-time director. And for this position, which will be a very limited position at first, approximately 5 hours a week, which will help get us back up and running. Since Dagmar retired, we have not had the ability to change our radio station. We've not had the ability to coordinate our volunteers. Apparently, there's an app that does that. So we interviewed several people, so this would be, because we haven't decided what direction we're going with OEM, whether we're going to keep it, not keep it, but we need to have it at least up and running because we're entering the spring season. So we need to have the ability to coordinate our volunteers.
I couldn't hear how many hours you said at the beginning.
5
Per week.
5 a week. And that person is John Bennett, and he's present tonight. You want to wave? He was a member of many different, well, he's been one of the top volunteers in our area and knows how to get everything back up and running, correct?
Absolutely.
And understands the limitations of what this is. And so, and then we'll have discussions about where we take OEM in the future. So, are there any questions? All right.
Yes, I have a question.
Trustee Singh.
So are we going to be under the threshold for IMRF?
Oh.
Yes. Oh, it's only
5 hours a week.
20 hours a month.
20 hours a month?
Way under, yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
And the rate you said is?
15 an hour.
15. I'm finished with my question.
No, okay. So I'm going to make a motion to hire Jen Bennett as an acting interim director at a part-time position, 5 hours a week, at a rate of $15 an hour. And John did assure me that his volunteer hours would still be volunteer. So that was nice to hear. And so if we decide then to stay with OEM and whatnot, then we'll bring it back to the board. Okay? Do I have a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Perez?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie? Yes. Trustee Carabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, John, you want to introduce yourself and stand up and say a few words? John doesn't get put on the spot.
You
And by
might
a
be correct,
few words, I mean a few words.
My name's John Bennett, as you realize. I've been a volunteer for many, many years. I've been very active in the OEM. I've been active with the Park Ridge organizations. I'm part of a search and rescue organization. It's a statewide organization. I'm a volunteer. I've been a volunteer for a very long time. And I'm willing to continue this. I want to keep OEM going. I know you still have to make that decision, but I will certainly be an asset to this organization. I'll get it back up and running and get our volunteers ready to respond if necessary. So.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
All right, next is, it was with great sadness that we said goodbye to Jonathan, who was with Recovery Connection from the beginning, right?
Yes.
You all know Jonathan. So, now, Jonathan did move on to, some could argue, greener pastures. But I got a job offer too good to refuse. So, Dana and Marty interviewed potential replacements, and now I'm going to turn the floor over to Dana.
Okay, Marty can chime in too. So I think you have Terry Donnelly's resume in your packet. So, okay, this is, I'll just make this kind of short. Terry is here in the backseat sitting next to Marty. Quick way. We interviewed a few people as well, and we thought Terry was the best candidate. If you want to just look at his resume really quickly, he has experience working with the Greater Illinois Sober Living. He's also local and lives in the township, and he also is a current volunteer in the program and has been for quite some time. And Marty and his crew have known Terry for quite a while, and I was very, very impressed with speaking with him and our interview last week. So I'd like to make a recommendation to bring him on board at the same hours that we were giving John King, which I believe are 19 a week, which would be 30-day pay period, and we'd like to start him at 14 an hour starting this Monday. That is what we are recommending to the board.
And he is going to be doing the financial and auditing and
Yes.
bill paying.
Correct.
And, what keeps Marty, Marty and Nick will be doing and he'll still be part of the recovery.
Right, he'll be doing the admin piece of the
The
program.
admin
Yeah.
piece, the
Right.
piece that's been a little bit, that's what Jonathan was doing,
Yeah.
and a very good job. So I'm gonna make a motion to hire, Terry, what's your last name?
Donnelly.
Donnelly. Donnelly, okay. I'm gonna make a motion to hire Terry Donnelly, at a rate of $14 an hour, 19 hours a week, no benefits, no IMRF, and no health insurance, effective, with the start date of Monday.
Second.
I made a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie? Yes. Trustee Carapoli?
Noting he's a fellow to Paul Grant, yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
All right, welcome aboard, Terry. Would you like to come up and say a few words?
Absolutely.
I'll keep it brief. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Dana. And I'm really excited to get into it and just start on Monday, and I'm gonna bring, full energy, and I'm really excited. Thank you for the opportunity again.
Thank you.
All right, now we've come to that very exciting part. It's called officials' reports. And I will start with trustee Sweeney.
I'm going to ask, moving a lot of issues that we
Okay, trustee Carabone.
Very much enjoyed the TOCC Trustees Division Spring Conference. We struggled through a meal and great presentations by a number of townships on what they're doing at Jamieson's original chart house in Arlington Heights, along with trustee McKenzie. It was extremely informative, received a lot of good information, heard a lot about a lot of good ideas. It was really uplifting. Thank you.
Trustee McKenzie.
I was gonna say what Dave said, so.
Well, there is always that what he said.
What he said.
That's it. I don't mean it like that. All right, we're doing perfect. We're good. Trustee Jones.
I attended the clerks conference at Harp and Fiddle, which was very interesting, and Karen Yarborough spoke and did a great job. It was good to hear what's going on in the clerk's office with new laws, and it was also a St. Patrick's Day theme, which was, so it was a good time as well as being informative. Concludes my report.
All right, and Assessor Myron Craig.
Good evening, everyone. Our office has completed over 3,800 exemptions, and we are waiting for them to be processed. As of yet, they're not fully processed with the Cook County Assessor's Office. It might be because of the new administration just trying to get adjusted to the office. And we're waiting at that point. When they do that, we have a senior card come out that lets residents know if they did apply for a senior exemption or freeze previously, that they are not on record as of doing that. And hopefully they won't send it out before they process all these, because it'll be a madhouse in here if they do. I did attend the clerk's dinner too. It was a very nice dinner at Harp and Fiddle. And Karen Yarwood was there, and as you know, she is our new clerk, Cook County clerk. She's switching offices from Recorder of Deeds. Very, very nice lady. And that's about all I have to say. Everybody have a good night.
And Highway Commissioner Jim Richard.
Yeah, with the tragic death of Bob Brzezinski, we had to do a little reorganizing. We're not going to hire a replacement per se. We're going to use longtime employee Peter Duvalakis as the foreman. That'll be his title, not director. I have a very good rapport with Mr. Duvalakis. I think it will work well together. There hasn't been a drop-off in terms of service. Basically had to do the entire winter season without Bob, so there was no increase in complaints or aberrations or anything like that. And, we're going to work on our spring, repairing the sewers, full patching of potholes, tree trimming, etc. And I think we'll be in good shape, and we won't necessarily have to hire an employee above Mr. Duvalakis or hire an extra laborer. I think we can work with the 5 people we have. So, we'll see. I'm confident in the future for the next couple of years that the highway department will maintain its reputation as being helpful and efficient. That's it.
All right. Alright, so Pete is your new foreman, right?
Correct.
Alright, congratulations to Pete, who I'm sure all of you have met. I hope you've met, but he's a very, haven't met him, you will be. He is really good people, has been here for quite a long time, and obviously nobody can replace Bobby, but Pete is, was the deputy foreman under Bobby, and Pete is really a good motivator of people and knows everything there is to know about the highway department. All right, we are hot and heavy in the middle of evaluations and budgets, and we'll be posting that mid-April. Every employee has now been given, and I think turned in their salary study questionnaire. We have really been a good example of cross-training and using resources where we can with respect to, for example, the assessor's office. And now that John Bennett is on board, he can have the volunteers do some traffic control for you. So rather, thumbs up. Rather than Susie have to hire anybody, we provided some people from our people, so that worked out really well. We also had a Verizon small cell site meeting, which I learned more about small cell sites, which essentially is a land of 5G. And so we were presented with an option of a program that we're still looking into, which was to essentially, they want to use some of the poles, thank you, poles that are on the township right-of-way to put Verizon boxes. So a law passed in the state of Illinois, that you can't deny these, whether you do it by agreement and you lease it back and make some money off of it. It's not very much money. Then you'd be responsible for the upkeep, or you just do it through the regular permit process. One of the, in the 6 degrees of separation, the head woman, Jessica DeWalt, is Kurt's neighbor.
Former colleague.
And used to work in Hansel Clinton. Yeah, really small world. So I learned a lot, and that is still an ongoing thing. I want to encourage everybody to go to the Senior Expo, which is
Thursday, April 25th.
Thank you. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but it's being followed on Twitter by some guy in Australia. Somehow was here, did a song about our senior department in front of our sign, and seems to love us, and he's up to 2,500 followers, so not bad. We have no idea who this guy is. But it sounds really good, the British accent, this Australian news. So that's my report, and so next order of business is the administrator.
Let me just, there was an error in terms of the entity that employs an engineer that attended the Verizon small cell meeting. He doesn't work for Sexton Engineering, he works for Spaceco.
Oh, that new hire report?
Yeah, that's no big deal, but that was a different firm he works for.
Okay.
Well, none of us would have ever noticed that error. All right, so now,
Oh, it'll be 2C11 for pending litigation.
okay, I have been informed by our attorney that we need to go into closed session pursuant to 2C 120 IL 140.
Five.
5/140 ILCS 2C11, pending litigation. So I'm gonna make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Carabello?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
All right, and then we're releasing all employees, except for taping.
Do you want
And
to
the
go
issues.
inside the closed session?
Yeah, right?
I need to get something.
Do I have a second? Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Morales?
Yes?
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie? Yes. Trustee Carabello?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes. Okay, now I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.